if you have major heart for what you do and just the willingness to keep going, it will take you so far. It's easy to quit, but if you love this thing and you want to keep learning and you want to keep growing, take that with you and let that motivate you and take you forward. In the long run, you're going to win. Hey everyone, my name is Priscilla Piper, and welcome to the Decision to Dance podcast. If you like what you hear today, please don't forget to follow, give us a rating, and leave a comment regarding your takeaways and what you would like to see more of. As a new podcast, it means a lot that you are here, and I hope you enjoy today's episode. I was taking a beginner level dance class about a year or two ago, and I remember it was the end of class. I was standing on the side, and the teacher was calling out a handful of dancers to be filmed for solos. And I watched every dancer get called out, and the common denominator was that they were having the time of their lives. They were so lit up from the inside, had the biggest smile on their faces, and you could just tell that they were happy to showcase their love and their passion for dance and to share that with their friends and their community and everyone else in the classroom that was cheering them on. And I had an epiphany moment. When I was watching those people, I thought to myself, no matter how advanced I become as a dancer, I always want to be in a beginner level class. And when I say that, I don't necessarily mean if I was advancing in a specific style, let's say jazz. If I become super advanced in that class, I don't necessarily mean that I should take a beginner level jazz class, although I think it's great to stay in foundational classes. But more so what I mean is if you become advanced in jazz, I think it could be really beneficial to start taking a beginner level tap class, something very different from what you have advanced in. And I think there's so many pros to this, and I want to share with you 5 reasons why I think it's beneficial to remain a beginner no matter what level you get at in your lifetime as a dancer. So the first reason is your body is going to work in ways that is probably not used to. Unless you are consistently taking such a variety of classes throughout the week, you're probably kind of stepping in similar styles, and you're probably getting into a routine as well. So it's kind of good to break up that routine for your body, because let's say you're doing a type of style where it tends to be a lot of quick movement, very fast, on your feet, quick thinking, and you become advanced in that style that requires all of that. I think it could be so beneficial to then maybe take something like a ballet class or a lyrical class where it's slower, and you have to be patient in the calmness within that. And I would say your body is probably, if you're doing that quick movement all the time, fast choreography, sharp choreography, if you go to a ballet class and you're doing bar work, you're probably not going to be used to standing at the bar in passe, on releve, holding it for, 3 counts of 8, however long you do that at a bar. It's just going to be different for your body. I mean, you may not necessarily be using different muscles per se, but I think you'll be using your body in a way that's just very different from what you're used to, and you just can't go wrong with that. And then number 2, along the same lines, is that your brain is going to be working differently. So if you are taking a class, maybe it's a lyrical class, and you're really comfortable with that type of music, you understand it, it makes sense to you. If you then maybe go to a hip hop class, that's going to be very different music from what you were originally practicing. So by challenging yourself going into a beginner level hip hop class, your sense of musicality is going to be very different. And I will say from my personal experience, so my foundation is in jazz, ballet, lyrical. That is what I grew up doing. And when I returned to dance, a lot of the classes I were offered were more hip hop classes and jazz funk classes. And I remember hearing the music and just being like, I don't even know like where the one is in this music. I would just try and be like, I don't know how to count it. And I even still struggle with some of that, and that's something I'm planning on working on. But when it comes to different type of music that I'm not used to listening to or dancing to, it gives my brain a major challenge to work on. And I think it kind of just reminds you that there's always something to learn. And I appreciate that as well. And then the third reason is, I think a great reason to be in a beginner level class is because you are surrounding yourself with people that love dance, and you're reminded as to why people do it. Because there are so many people out there that just dance for fun. And I think to advanced dancers, sometimes that's like a mind-boggling thing to think about, because you're like, you forget that you can just do this for fun. You don't have to be a professional dancer. And it just gives you perspective that you may miss as an advanced dancer or a professional dancer. And what I personally love is being able to have those conversations with people of such a wide array of ages and different levels of dancing and backgrounds. It's just so cool, I think, to have conversations with different people and learn more about them and their story and why they decide to show up to class. Maybe it's weekly, maybe it's 4 times a year. What makes them do this? Because when you become advanced, it can be so almost monotonous and just so routine that you don't even think about it anymore. It's just what you do, and you kind of forget about like the fun that can be had within dance, right? And I mean, that's why we dance to begin with. We love it and it should be fun. But I think once you become more advanced, it can feel a lot more serious. And I think it's easy to kind of get caught up in a lot of things, and you can forget why you do it. So I think it's really cool to be able to connect with other people that have different walks of life who also love dance. And in addition to that, something else that I love is that you're just reminded that dance is not always that serious. When I got to that point where I was like, it's okay if I'm not perfect in every single class. It's okay if I don't get called out to dance in front of the camera in every single class. Doesn't have to be that serious. You know, I consider myself a dancer that has high standards, and I'm always going to be that way. But at the same time, it's really important for me that I remember there is more to life than being a perfect dancer. Let's just be so real for a moment. It's okay to want to be a great dancer and to strive toward that and to be that. But at the end of the day, like there really is more going on to life in general than just dance. And it's nice to be reminded of that perspective when you are engaging with more beginner level dancers. And number 4, a great reason to continue to take beginner level classes is because it will keep you humble. If you go to a beginner level class in a style that you are not familiar with, it is going to humble you so freaking quickly. It's probably not going to be, that fun. It's going to be a little bit like a slap in the face, like, but I was good in this class yesterday. and I am not good in this one. It doesn't feel great, but it gives you that like reason to challenge yourself. Like, oh, I'm not good at this today, but like I might be better at it in a month or two or three if I keep going. I will say, it's tough because most of us have spent so many years striving to become advanced and to perfect our craft. And not just time, but we've dedicated money and have made sacrifices. You don't want to be a beginner, right? Like, you want to be great. Why would you want to be a beginner again? I get it. I will say too, when I see people that are advanced in certain styles and I see them in either a beginner level class or I see them in a style that's not their best style, I have so much respect for those people. And on top of that, I have major respect for teachers that are doing that as well, whether they are taking class in their own style that they teach, or they're taking a class that is a different style from what they teach. I have major respect for those teachers. And personally, as a student, I want to take from those type of teachers because I think it just shows their dedication to the craft, but also their dedication to themselves and their students. Because, I mean, as they say, always a student, right? Even if you become advanced, even if you become a teacher, you're always a student. You're always learning. There's always something to learn. So I personally, if I see that in a teacher and they happen to be in a class that I'm in, I'm like, I'm hopping in their class, no matter the style. I don't know that everyone feels that way, but it's definitely something that I've taken note of. So speaking of teachers, the fifth reason why it's a great idea to remain a beginner is because it makes you a better teacher. So if you are a teacher currently, or if you have the goal to become a teacher, this is a perfect way to become a great teacher. And I'm not talking from personal experience. This is my unprofessional, personal opinion. But I will say in my own life, whenever I've been a beginner at something or was just not good at it, I always learn from the people around me. And I would take stock of what those other people were doing and the things that I liked that they were doing. And then I would implement those things that I liked. And then I would tweak the things that I didn't love or the things that I felt like didn't really stick or mesh with my personality. And so I would kind of make those other things my own. But essentially, I was a student to begin with, and then later was able to apply what I learned. I think it can be easy to forget what it's like to be a student, and especially it can be difficult to know what it's like to be a beginner level student, right? So many people start out as young kids, so they get that beginner stuff out of the way, when they're like 5 years old. So when you're doing that as an adult, it just gives you so much new perspective that you wouldn't have had otherwise. And you can implement the things that, as a student, you're noticing what your teacher is doing. You can implement what you like about what that teacher's doing. And then you're going to notice the things that you're not loving that your teacher is doing during class. And you can be mindful of that and tweak those things yourself to become a better a better teacher. I think that's just a really great way to kind of keep things on your toes. And obviously, especially teachers, those are probably people that are also choreographing, very, very busy people. So it can be hard to find that time, especially if you finally have time to take a class, you're probably not going to go for the beginner level class, right? Or the style that you're not proficient in. Makes sense with your limited time. But I think even if it's just once a year, I think quarterly would be cool. I think that would be really beneficial. But even if it's just once a year, just get a taste of it to be that student again, that beginner level student. And it's really going to get you in your head and you're just going to start thinking differently. So again, this is not my personal experience, but I can see how this could definitely make somebody who is wanting to become a teacher become a great teacher, or a teacher that's already teaching become an even better teacher. Lastly, before I sum up everything, I just gave you reasons why it's great to stay in beginner level classes no matter how advanced you become. But I also want to mention that if you are a beginner level dancer overall in every style or any style, I think it's really important for me to mention that it is okay to be a beginner. Okay, I think there's a lot of people out there. I know people personally, I've seen it in comments on social media. There are a lot of people out there that are afraid of being a beginner, they're either afraid of starting over and being a beginner, or they're afraid of starting to begin with. Because being a beginner is so hard. Because as a beginner, there's so many elements and variables that you're trying to get accustomed to. Whereas when you're an advanced dancer, you've already got a lot of things down, and a lot of those things are second nature. So when something changes or something gets thrown at you, it's not a big deal because you've really solidified your foundation. But as a beginner, oh my gosh, there's just so much going on. You're trying to deal with the cameras and the groups and just remembering the choreography and trying to be clean and all these things that as advanced dancers, you just don't even think about because it's just second nature and you've been doing it your whole life probably, or for a number of years. But when you're a beginner, it's a totally different story. So I will say it is tough being a beginner. I won't lie. It's hard. But there is strength in being a beginner. And I will say as well that if you feel insecure about starting over or starting for the first time and being a beginner level dancer, if you feel embarrassed about that, I think there's so much that you can bring to the table. So if you haven't been dancing your whole life, you're going to bring some stuff to the table and perspective and experiences that other people aren't necessarily going to bring. And that is not only just a mindset thing and a perspective thing, but it's also in the way that you approach class and the way you approach dance. It can be very different from the people that have been doing this since they were 3 years old. And I mean that as a good thing. So don't feel like you're coming in feeling like you're, that you have nothing to bring. I really disagree with that big time. So don't be afraid of that at all. And another part of that is I think when dancers do this their whole lives, it can be easy to forget who you are outside of dance. But when you come into dance after living some life, you're going to have a way better sense of self. And I think that's such a beautiful thing. It's such a beautiful thing to know who you are. And even if you don't, I think you can take a moment to recognize the things you've been through, the things you've learned, and how that is something you can take with you as a dancer. I also want to mention that there is just something to be said for if you have major heart for what you do and just the willingness to keep going, it will take you so far. So far. Because again, like I said, it's easy to quit. But if you love this thing, and it doesn't matter that it's your favorite thing in the world, it doesn't have to be. But if you love it and you want to keep learning and you want to keep growing, take that with you and let that motivate you and take you forward. Because in my opinion, having that can stand you apart from so many other people. And that's not to say that other dancers don't love what they do and don't have that fire and that passion, because so many people do. I would say most dancers do. But when you just love it, and you don't care if you're the worst one in class, and you just want to keep going and learning and enjoy yourself, in the long run, you're going to win. You're going to get better. And that's something you really have to hang on to, especially when it does feel difficult, or it feels like you're the only one in the classroom that's behind, or you're the one that has less experience than everyone else. Doesn't matter. I swear it doesn't matter. Just take that love for what you're doing and keep going, because I'm a firm believer that slow and steady always wins the race. So that was just a little tidbit for the just complete solid beginner dancers out there. But even as you advance, because you will, as you improve, I really encourage you to think about how important it could be to continually be in a beginner level class after you have excelled in a specific style. To me, it's also so fun to challenge myself. Once I'm really good at something, I'm going to the next style. Like, that's actually my life plan, I guess, my life goal. I just want to learn it all because I love it all. And so once I'm really good at something, I'm going to the next thing, and I'm going to be a beginner, and I'm going to keep doing it over and over again for the rest of my life, because I just love dance and I love the learning process and I love being challenged. So I hope all of that is a little bit helpful. And this is just my perspective. Of course, people, I'm sure, have different opinions on this, but it's something that I really do believe in and wanted to share my thoughts on it. So let us know if there was a reason that I missed that you think could be beneficial to stay in a beginner level class. And you can also let us know what your thoughts are on beginner level classes and what your takeaways have been. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you in the next episode.